one of the things that you always say is you say that the number one thing that stands in the way of creating a more positive life is that so much is robbing you of your peace.
For sure.
What is the biggest barrier for people in terms of creating a more powerful and positive life?
I would say the main thing, Mel, I know in my life for people, it's been what surrounds your life. So many times in my life, when I look at my circle, whether me playing NFL, whether me doing what I'm doing now, when I had the wrong environment around me, it drained me. It kept me from my peace. I didn't feel energized. But when I got around the right people, it truly helped me. So I would tell, look at your circle, look at your environment, because I think that's the main barrier from keeping you from where you want to go and what you want to do with your life.
So for somebody that's never even thought about this, what does it feel like, or how do you even know if you're surrounded by the wrong people?
The first thing I would tell them is, how do you feel? When you're in the right environment around the right people, I always say this, you never have to question anything that's real. So if you have so many questions about, are these people for me? Is this environment for me? Then you probably got your answer. Does this person love me? If all you had to offer was friendship, who would still be around? And that's a question I asked myself. And it exposed a lot to me, because I knew if I just had friendship, I would lose a lot, because a lot of people were around me because of what's around me. They didn't love Trent for the heart of who I am. They didn't love Trent for the human. They loved Trent because of what Trent could provide. And so when you lose those benefits, you'll often will see somebody's true loyalty to you. So I love to say, when a benefit ends, that's when the loyalty stops. And so if you're drained, if you're empty, if you're always questioning things, if you're not fulfilled, you don't have peace in your life, that means that people around you aren't right. And sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's friends that you knew for years. But for myself, I refuse to allow the history to keep me in the misery, because it's so hard. Because I knew this person since elementary, or I knew this person for 5 or 10 years. I can't let go of this person. But just because who they were in their past to you doesn't mean they're going to be that in your future. And so that's helped me make decisions moving forward with my life when it became hard to let go of certain people that I didn't want to let go of, but I had to. I
can already feel the person that's taking a walk with us right now or listening in their car going, oh God.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about in my life, Trent. I want to go a little bit deeper, because I personally think, Trent, that so many of us go through our lives and we're not even aware that it could feel different.
Right.
And, here you're somebody that was in the NFL, and I would imagine that when you left your football career, that was probably a tipping point where you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of people that were around me when they could say they were friends with somebody in the NFL.
For sure.
But now that I'm not doing that, is that what you mean by benefits? And can you help somebody that has never even considered, wait a minute, are these people my friends? How do I even know?
Yeah. I mean, when I say benefits, it's what you have to give.
Okay.
So I'll give a perfect example. When you say no, that's when you'll see how somebody really feels about you. And if no changes the relationship, then I would like to say that relationship wasn't real in the first place. So when I start saying no, AKA the benefits, hey, I want to go out to dinner tonight. We're not going to the club. I'm not going to pay for it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
And you saw the energy shift. You saw side conversations about me, how I've changed. Because that's the thing, Mel, when you start to change for the better, people say, oh, you changed. I'm like, of course, that's what I'm supposed to do. But what changed is the position that I had in your life. So no longer can I be the person that you can use. No longer can I be the person that allows non-reciprocation, meaning that if I give it, I expect to receive it.
Yeah.
If I'm giving you support, I expect you to give me some support in some type of way. It doesn't have to be the same. And so once I saw that these friendships were a one-way street, I had to bring it to a dead end, because friendships and relationships should always be a two-way street. And if it's not, you got to look at your life and say, okay, I need to change these people's position in my life. It doesn't mean that you kick them out your life and remove them, but sometimes you have to learn how to love people from a distance. And that's hard.
Very hard.
But I had to do that, and that truly gave me more peace in my life.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about just this fact that you just said, which is as you grow, the role that people play in your life is going to change. And I can think about for myself personally that as I've really worked on myself and I got out of that habit of constantly complaining about what was going on and I just put my head down and got to work, I started to notice that the people that I used to spend a lot of time sitting around complaining about my life to,
Yeah.
the position of their friendship and relationship changed because I didn't want to spend my time doing that anymore.
That's right.
As I stopped partying as much as I used to, like that's a big one. Chris doesn't really drink at all. And when you stop prioritizing going out every weekend, spending money on that kind of stuff, you also start to notice that there are friendships that you have that are all around that type of life or that chapter of your life. But when you start to prioritize your health or some side hustle, that the position changes. Wow. What's one of the hardest things that you've had to do as you've started to realize, wow, like this person's only in my life because they're used to getting something from me that I was used to giving to people? Here we go.
So many times, think like which time. But I would have to say, I learned this in high school. And it's hard sometimes, Mel, when you're the person that is the success out the group. Even in high school, I had a group of friends, and obviously we all want to make it. Division I football player.
Yep.
And I was the one that made it, and they didn't. And as I started to get recognition, they started to change on me. One of them even tried to talk to my girlfriend behind my back. I'm like, come on, bro, right? And a lot of rumors and things that were said around people that I loved and cared about, would do anything for. And these are the same people that I would say, man, we all had this goal. And just because I made it, we all make it. And so I realized at that point in my life that, wait a minute, if you can't be happy for my happiness, that's a problem. If my success makes you bitter, that's a problem. Because a true friend, they will be more happy for you than you are for yourself. A true friend, you got to say, hey, chill out. I know you're telling the world, I know you're excited, but don't do that. But that's what a true friend is. And so in that moment, I realized, oh, these aren't people that are really for me. These are people that have me in their life for their convenience. Whatever that convenience is, like you said, maybe it's the party, maybe it's the popularity, maybe it's, me always being there for them. And when I removed that convenience, I said, oh man. And it was tough because these were people that, like, literally I would almost die for.
In listening to this story, I'm going to share something because I think a lot of you listening will see yourself in Trent, that you are working side by side with a group of people. And I think this happens in a lot of instances. You're going for Division I with dreams of making it to the NFL and being a professional player, and you're the one that breaks out.
That's right.
But people have that where you've got friends and you've always dreamt of having a family and raising families together, and then all of a sudden somebody finds their person first.
Yeah.
And they're getting married first, or they're the ones having the family first, and you start to feel like you're getting left in the dust. And so in some area of your life, whether it's in your career or sports or just personal experiences and goals, you've probably been in Trent's shoes.
Yeah.
Trent, you say there are 4 types of people you can't be friends with. What's the first one?
You can't be friends with the person that wants your life. And as a human, it's natural, I feel like, to have an emotion of jealousy a little bit. But when jealousy turns into envy, I think that's when it becomes a problem.
Yes.
I always say envy is jealousy unchecked. And so, and I want to say this too, Mel, you can want somebody's life in a positive way. You can look at that happy marriage and say, you know what? I want that for myself. You can look at that person succeeding in business. I want that for myself. But when it becomes toxic and a problem is when you feel like you deserve the life that they have.
Yeah.
When you don't know what they suffer through, what they've been through, when you don't know how much work that they put in, and you start to feel like their blessings are meant for you. I call it counting people's blessings. It's almost like counting someone's pocket. When you look in somebody's pocket and say, I should get the money that they're making. Right. But you don't know the sacrifices that they put in. And so what happens is, I've seen this happen in relationships where you have the friend that, I don't know if I should say, but you have the friend that, is trying to put doubts in your mind about your marriage. And they plant seeds of doubt. They plant seeds of, oh, you're better for somebody else, or that person isn't good enough for you. And there's times when a divorce happened or a broken relationship happened, and then that person ends up getting with the person that you were married to or that you were in a relationship with. So there's some people out there that will do anything to ruin your life. And to the people watching this, maybe even teenagers or college athletes, or you're in a position at work, be careful, because somebody that wants your life will, what I call, trick you out of your position. They will put you in a compromising situation so you get caught up so they can get your position. So my dad always told me, he said, Trent, I know this sounds rude, but you only hang around people who have as much to lose as you. And what he was saying was, if you're around a group of friends that aren't the athlete, that aren't successful, guess who's going to be in the paper? Not them. You.
That's right. And
so at a young age, I understood that. But you got to be careful for those people that really want your life in a negative way.
That's powerful stuff right there. Because I don't think we think about that. Like, I'm the kind of person that goes through life thinking everybody has the best intentions, even though I know that when I was much younger and I hadn't done the work that I've done, that I was very insecure and I did engage in toxic patterns of behavior. And I wish I hadn't been like that. But I think it's so awesome that you are kind of really diving into this. What are some of the other types of people that you really want to stay away from? What's the second person?
You can't be friends with a person that's a terrible person. You know, birds of a feather flock together. As much as you want to say, no, I'm not like them or I'm not like that, if you hang around it, the perception, and people say, oh, perception doesn't matter. It does matter to an extent, because there's some opportunities that won't find you because of what surrounds you. They look at your life and they look at what you're around. I've seen this happen in college sports all the time. Oh, he hangs around those group of kids. He has to be like them. And so there's times in my life where I knew opportunities didn't come to me, not because I was a bad person or a bad kid. It's because I was around an environment that scared those opportunities away. I'll say it like this, Mel.
Say it.
Don't be friends with somebody that you wouldn't want to trade places with. And I would stand on that. Character-wise, mindset-wise, life-wise, if you don't want to trade places with them, why are you around them? Because mindsets are very contagious.
Well, you know that quote that they say that you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with. I actually don't think it's the average. I think the lowest common denominator in that group is what everybody sings to.
That's right.
And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be compassionate and supportive of people in your life that are struggling and that are trying to grow through things. But I think what Trent is really trying to get you to realize is that your time and your energy and your peace are the most important commodities that you have. And how you spend your time and energy and who you give it to is an asset. And it is critical that you start to take it more seriously. Are the people that you spend the majority of your time with actually headed in the same direction? Do they have goals? Are they making you think bigger? Or are they gossiping and dragging you down and having small mind conversations? So thank you. How do you know if somebody's terrible? I mean, other than just like a gut check, you know what I'm saying?
Watch how they treat the people who can't do anything for them. So I'm always looking at not how you treat me, because especially when you're in a position, they're going to treat you a certain way. But I watch how you treat other people that cannot do a thing for you. I watch how you treat other people who have done a lot for you. And so I look at that. So if you're treating other people wrong, no matter how good you treat me, I'm not going to be around that.
That's true. I also love what you're saying about, you know, you said this thing about not trading places with somebody. And I want to make sure that as you're listening, what Trent's talking about is character.
That's right.
That character is where you really need to focus, because that's where you're going to see the truth about somebody. Trent, I love everything you're saying. I want to take a quick break so we can hear a word from our sponsors, but don't you dare go anywhere, because Trent is just getting started. And when we come back, he's going to share the other 2 type of people that you can't be friends with. And a little bit later, we're going to get into 3 steps to better boundaries and what to do when people in your life aren't happy for you. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's your friend, Mel Robbins, and you and I are hanging out with Trent Shelton. And holy cow, Trent is giving us a masterclass on protecting your peace, creating more positive relationships. He says there are 4 kinds of people that you cannot be friends with. Number 1, the person who wants your life. Number 2, a terrible person. So Trent, what is the third type of person that you can't be friends with?
You can't be friends with a person that gossips. Anybody can smile in your face. Anybody can give you compliments. And the best way you identify this, if you're a person that talks about your friends to me, then I know you're talking about me behind my back. So I understand that right now. So some of us, we love to hear gossip. We love to hear things and drama. But understand, if those private conversations that someone has trusted that person with becomes public information, then you know that person is probably talking about you behind your back. You better understand that they're doing the same to you. So be very careful about who you tell your business to, especially when you know this person runs their mouth. I always say, I trust people for who they are. The problem is we trust people for who we want them to be. Mm-hmm. So if you're a gossiper, I trust you to be a gossiper. So I can't get mad if I give you some private stuff and you tell everybody, I knew who you were. If you're a liar, I expect you to lie. And it's okay. So you have to understand, if somebody's bringing negativity about other people that you know that they care about, then what do you think they're doing behind your back?
Exactly the same thing. You know, Trent, one of the things I love about our friendship is that you have such a huge heart and a big mind. And the thing that you need to know about Trent is the man never talks about other people. Mm-mm. He is always talking about ideas. He's talking about his family. He is talking about business. He is talking about dreams. He is talking about the impact. And one thing that I really value in a friendship is somebody that does talk about ideas and their family rather than talking about other people. Yeah. And you do that through and through and through. And what's the fourth person?
You can't be friends with the person that's friends with your enemies.
But how do you know who your enemies are? Seriously, because they're usually like sneaky and crafty, dude.
Yeah, so this one's deep. There's obviously obvious enemies that you know. And honestly, I respect those. I respect the people who I know don't like me. I do. I respect it. I respect people online that say, Trent, I hate your guts. I respect it because at least I know where you stand. Now, when it comes to the frenemies, this seems very earthy to say, as I would say, but you have to trust their energy. When you give something you're excited about, trust their energy. Are they excited? Do they change the conversation and make it about them? Do they put more doubts in your life? Do they put more fears in your life? Do you get information that they're talking about you behind your back? Like, they're silent enemies. And sometimes it's the people that you love the most that sometimes you can trust the least. Sometimes it's your best friend that doesn't want the best for you. And so again, if you always have to question this, like, why don't they ever show up for me? I told a friend this, I said, they always say, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you. I said, I appreciate that. But if you're proud of me, why don't you ever take the time out to support me? Because I like the words I'm proud, but at some point there should be actions. I'm having events for free. You're in the city. Have you ever listened to the book or the podcast? You ever liked the post? So if you're that proud of me, like you say, it would show in some form or fashion. Not saying you have to be my biggest cheerleader, but if you're that proud of me, you would take the time out to support me. So look around, because sometimes your greatest support system doesn't come from familiar faces. And it's okay. Sometimes, as I say, God will place strangers in your life to take you to higher places. And I had to realize that. And so with these enemies, the obvious ones are the things that do all these things behind your back. But it's the ones that you feel their energy that and discernment that just something isn't right.
Yeah. I think you tend to notice that in periods where you're changing and growing. Because whatever it is that you're changing and growing and doing in this next chapter of your life, the person knows they're not going with you, and it's confronting to them. That's right. Like I've had very similar experiences where, people I would have called friends, no congratulations on anything, never read a book, never listened to anything. And it's sort of one of those things where you almost dismiss it like, but it's okay, but if you really think about it, you want the kind of people around you that are celebrating with you and also crying with you. And one of the things that I'm thinking a lot about as you're talking, Trent, is that this idea that oftentimes it's not the familiar faces that are your loudest supporters, that it's people that you are new friends with or complete stranger. And, you got to remember, every one of your best friends began as a stranger.
That's right.
The person that you're dating and married to began as a stranger. And I think a lot about this test. I wonder if you use this test. It's easy for me to share what's going wrong with people, but I am highly selective about who I share wins with. And it's made me realize that my circle of people that I truly trust is so small, because there aren't a lot of people that I feel comfortable like calling and being like, oh my gosh, this is going on or that's going on. I mean, certainly our friend group that we text in, because we're all kind of doing the same thing and we're really supportive of one another. But aside from my family, I don't tell a lot of people about the wins. And I think that's kind of sad. And I don't know if I really have to dig deep. I think it's because I'm afraid that if I'm celebrating myself, people are going to judge me as arrogant or, do the old eye roll, that kind of thing. Do you ever worry about that?
1,000%. I'm afraid at times it makes people uncomfortable. And it changes someone's viewpoint of who you may be. But I do know not celebrating your wins almost becomes a burden. And I had that happen with me so much. I would keep my wins, my victories, my celebrations silent. And I would become very deflective and change the subject. Oh, it's all right. Yeah, I sold, 100,000 books or whatever. Oh, okay, whatever. And I wasn't appreciating it. And what you don't appreciate, I don't think will duplicate. I don't think will grow. You start to feel, as I would say, just in a prison in what you're doing. And like you said, that should tell you a lot about who you're around. If you can't talk about your wins, like my best friend, I can talk about any win and he's happy. He's hitting me up before I even know certain things. You know what I mean? And that's the type of people that you want to be around in your life. And when it comes to circle, the truth is, like, I wish that everybody can have this huge circle. But I do know this is true, and maybe you can relate. When my circle got smaller, my vision got clearer. Less became more. JC says it best in one of his songs. He said, there's not many of us. And he said, but still, there's plenty of us. Because sometimes it's the bigger the circle, the more drama, the more confusion, the more gossip. But as you tend to shrink down, you create this energy. You create this congruency. You create these like mindsets. And I believe like mindsets are more powerful than anything. Loyalty, strength, I don't believe is shown in numbers. Strength is shown in loyalty. You can have 1 million people, but if you have 10, 20 loyal people, that's all the strength that you need. So don't, be afraid that, I don't have a lot of people. It's okay, because you can always grow. But I know that's changed my life when I trim the fat and I
trim the fat. Listen to you.
When I trimmed the fat and I created more muscle, by making my circle smaller, not because I wanted to, not because I want to isolate and everybody's bad. That's not my message. But it's like, I want congruency. And if I have 2, 3, 20, 30, as long as there's congruency, we can make a powerful impact and a powerful change.
How the hell does something so simple work, Mel? I mean, come on, for real? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, let me get you into action, okay? Because when you try this thing, you're going to experience the change yourself. One of the reasons why this is so powerful is because your brain has one job, and that is to keep you alive, which means your brain will resist any kind of new change you want to make. And the thing I'm going to have you do is going to make you feel this resistance. And it's important for you to realize that this is part of your wiring. You're never going to not have to push yourself to do things when you don't feel like it. Like, this is just a fact of life. In fact, one of the hardest things for us all to do is to start something new. And there's a scientific reason why. The reason why is because pushing yourself to do something, whether it's pushing yourself to get to the gym or pushing yourself to change a habit or pushing yourself to stay sober or pushing yourself to speak up more or pushing yourself to express your boundaries, right? Or make the cold calls that are going to make you more money. All of that requires you to go from doing one thing, like scrolling on your phone or sitting on the couch, to doing something different. You have to summon something called activation energy. You have to activate the movement inside of you. One of the coolest things about why the 5-second rule works is the counting itself is an action. So it's almost like the little Trojan horse. So you're sitting there on the couch. You know you need to go for a run, but it's raining and it's cold and you don't feel like it. You blew it off this morning. You've already made yourself wrong. It's now 3:00 in the afternoon. You can think of a million things that you would rather do than going for a run. You now know the secret. The secret is motivation is garbage. No one's coming to push your ass off that couch. This is up to you. The second you're sitting there marinating in your excuses and your sad sack, whatever, feeling low energy, I get it. I'm there every day at 3:00, right there with you, not feeling like it. The second you start counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you've made the decision to get off that couch and go exercise, even though you don't feel like it. The second you hit 1, get up off the couch. Start walking toward your closet. Change into your running shoes. Change into your tights, whatever. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, walk out the door. That is how you summon the activation energy to start. And starting's the hardest part, right? So that's why this works. In addition to the physiology, in addition to the brain science, in addition to everything else, from a real common sense point of view, you are starting with the counting. And so I want to leave you in motion. I don't want you to just learn about this thing because it doesn't work if you think about it. You got to use the tool. And once you use it, you're going to be able to teach it to anybody in your life that's struggling because they're waiting to feel motivated. You can give it to anybody once you try it. And so what's the best way to get you moving? I want you to do a 5-day wake-up challenge with me, okay? I know you're already groaning. I can literally hear it through my earphones over there. I don't want to wake up. Good. Okay. And for those of you that can just spring out of bed, first of all, you're a weirdo. And the way that we're going to make this work for you is set your alarm. If you're the kind of person that just, I just naturally wake up. I just spring out of bed. You're going to set your alarm 30 minutes earlier because I want to manufacture the resistance that you are going to push through with the 5-second rule. For the rest of us who just hate getting out of bed, here's what you're going to do. Tonight, set your alarm, okay? Tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off, you're immediately going to feel yourself thinking about getting out of bed. You're immediately going to want to stay in bed. We all do. I mean, who wants to get out of bed? It's cozy, it's warm, it's yummy in there, especially if you're sleeping with your loved one or your fur babies, okay? I get it. That is me every single morning. When that alarm goes off, you're going to notice this moment of hesitation because you're not going to want to use the 5-second rule. Good. That's that resistance. That's the fact that activation energy is now required. That's your brain going, but I don't want to change. And then you're going to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, throw those sheets off, stand up. You're going to hate this. Start walking towards the bathroom. By the time you get to the bathroom, you're good. So that's what you're going to do for 5 mornings in a row. Alarm goes off, count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The second you hit 1, the sheets are off and you stand up and start walking toward the bathroom. You're going to hate it. You're not going to feel like doing it. If you can push through the resistance that you feel every morning about getting up when the alarm rings, you can push through the resistance everywhere in your life. You are building a muscle of courage, of confidence, of action. You are building the skill of being able to take action when you don't feel like it. And that skill will pay you dividends for the rest of your life. Now, I'd like to support you in this Wake Up Challenge. And let me support you. And here's how you can let me support you. Go to melrobbins.com/wakeup. WAKEUP. One word. Wake up. I don't think it's one word in real life, or maybe it is, but on the website, it's melrobbins.com/wakeup. If you, the instructions for the Wake Up Challenge will be there in case you want to share them with somebody else. And more importantly, if you share your email with me, don't worry, I'm not going to put you in some I'm not going to sell your name to anybody. I just want to support you. I will send you a really fun, encouraging email every single day that you're in this challenge for 5 days, because I really want you to try this. And I want you to try this because, the 5-second rule, I'm so passionate about it, not because of my experience. I'm passionate about it because of the experience of millions of people around the world who have used the 5-second rule first to get out of bed and then to go on to make amazing, courageous, incredible changes in their life. And the same is going to be true for you. But it's only true if you're willing to push yourself. And here's the interesting thing about this challenge. Notice you don't feel like doing the Wake Up Challenge. What, are you waiting to feel motivated to do it? I mean, isn't that the whole point of what we've been talking about? In order to get what you want, you got to push yourself to act before you're ready, before you feel like it. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? That you try it for 5 days and then you go back to hitting the snooze button? I think something incredible will happen when you place a bet on yourself, when you allow me to support you by sending you these emails. I believe that if you were to practice pushing through the resistance 5 mornings in a row, and it sounds simple, it is not easy. I think you would be surprised by how good you feel about yourself and the ripple effect that it creates in your life. That's what I believe is going to happen, and I can't wait to support you in it. You are one decision away from a different life, a better life. And yes, it's not going to change overnight. It changes through those decisions that you're making that add up over time. I hope you find the courage to make the decision that's going to change your life today. I'm asking you to 54321, sign up for that Wake Up Challenge. melrobbins.com/wakeup, and let me support you. When you start making courageous decisions, when you start pushing yourself forward, when you start going for bigger things, when you stop thinking and you start doing, are you going to fail? Probably. Will you mess up? I sure do. That's okay. I want you to just keep waking up every single morning, 54321, and show up for yourself again. Because it's what you do after you fail. It's what you do in those moments when you don't feel like it. It's those moments when you push yourself that matters most. Do not waste another day of your life waiting, wishing, or hoping motivation comes. All the things you desire are right in front of you. They're waiting for you to push through all of that resistance and self-doubt and walk toward what you want. No matter how old you are or what's happened in your life, you can achieve the life you want. I'm sorry, you don't have to believe it. I've got enough confidence in this fact to believe for you until you catch up. I have way too much evidence, having seen the lives of millions of people change through these small decisions, to know that yes, you can change your life too. You have dreams to fulfill. You've got a world to change. You've got a life to live. So I want you to get your butt out there and 54321, go do it. I will see you in the Wake Up Challenge. I will see you in the next episode. And I am so excited to be kicking off this whole new chapter of my life with you. Thank you for being here. And more importantly, thank you for trying this, because thinking about this tool is not going to change your life. Motivation is garbage. No one's coming, but you got everything inside you that you need. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go do it. I'm going to teach you today, as I read and freestyle from the High Five Habit, about how you can interrupt negative thoughts and flip into a positive mindset. And why would you want to do that? Well, the reason why you want to do that is because your thoughts lead you in a particular direction. And if you start to allow your mind to dwell on negative outcomes, if you start to obsess that things are not going to work out, if you allow yourself to continue to think negative thoughts, you're not only priming your mind to default to negative, but you will literally, through your thoughts, trigger negative actions. You know, if you think about it, you've had experiences in your life, right, where you've really trashed yourself. You've hated on yourself. And when you continually think that you hate yourself, or you continually tell yourself that you're screwing up, you tend to do things that you hate, don't you? But when you're in a positive mindset, when you're in an optimistic mindset, when you interrupt those negative thoughts and you start to say, well, maybe it is going to work out, or, you know, I got to just keep on going. Your thoughts literally can trigger positive action too. And so that's what we're going to talk about today as we read the High Five Habit. Welcome to the live stream. Also, we are going to take your questions. So for those of you that want to read along, page 59, we're going to read 4 pages of the book today, finish chapter 4, and I'm also going to teach you the one trick all confident people use to stay positive. Here we go. So to understand the profound power of accepting and encouraging yourself, which is a way to have a positive mindset, to have a mindset that defaults on being encouraging. Let's look at some research on what psychologists call your core fundamental emotional needs. So let me ask everybody, do you know what your core emotional needs are? There are 3 of them. I want you to go in the comments. What do you think your 3 core emotional needs are as a human being? These are the core emotional needs that every human being needs in order to feel safe, in order to feel connected to themselves, in order to feel loved. What are those core needs, everybody? I'd like you to just write them in the comments, okay? Yep, one's safety, one's love. These are great. What else? What are your needs? Your core emotional needs. I see longing. I see love. These are excellent, excellent responses, everybody. Human connection, love, acceptance. Yep. Trust, honesty. What are your core? There they are. I see Felicia's nailed it. To be seen, to be heard, and to be, she says validated, but it can be validated, accepted, or celebrated for the unique individual that you are. So to be seen, to be heard, and to be celebrated and accepted for the unique individual that you are and the unique contribution that you have. When you feel seen, when you feel heard, and when you feel celebrated or accepted for the contribution that you make as an individual, unique individual, you feel safe, you feel like you belong, and at your core, you feel loved. When you don't feel seen, you feel invisible in life. When you don't feel heard, you're going to feel misunderstood. And when you don't feel like you are accepted or validated, you feel completely rejected and disconnected. You feel like you are unworthy or unloved. And so again, we're going to talk about your need to be seen, to be heard, and to be accepted and celebrated. You need this at work. You need this at home. You need this in your relationships, your friendships, your romantic relationships, your family. And, you know, if you just reflect in your life, where do you feel seen, heard, and celebrated? Where in your life do you feel that way? Or is there a person in your life that makes you feel that way? Hopefully, you are saying that you make yourself feel seen, heard, and celebrated. But is there somebody else in your life that makes you feel that way? It could be a caregiver. It could be somebody that you're in a romantic relationship with. It could be a mentor. It could be a friend. It could be your pet, right? I think one of the reasons why we all love our cats and our dogs so much is because there's such unconditional love. You walk in the door, they come running right at you. And so you feel seen and you feel celebrated, right? And when they're right there with you, or, have you ever noticed how when you get really upset and you start crying, what do your animals do? Oh my God, they hear you and they come right on over. And those responses that are so innate when it comes to your pets, everybody, they're fulfilling your emotional needs. That's why you feel so safe and connected and loved by your pets, because you feel seen by them, you feel heard by them, and you feel celebrated and loved by them. And I do see people saying, I feel that way about my daughter, my mom, a mentor of mine. These core values, when they're missing from your life, of being seen, heard, celebrated, and accepted, this is what leads you to feeling stuck and disconnected and unfulfilled. And the good news is, when you realize that these core fundamental needs truly dictate how you feel and experience your life, now you've got the access point to be able to change how you're experiencing your life by focusing on your core fundamental needs and making sure that they are met. All right. You need these 3 fundamental emotional needs in order to thrive. They talk about this in Psychology 101. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And here's the background. You have basic needs that are fundamental to your fulfillment, your happiness, and your survival. You need water, food, oxygen, shelter, and sleep, right? Because if you don't have water or food or oxygen or shelter, or you get enough sleep, guess what? You die. That's how fundamental these core needs are. You also know that you need friendship, or else you're going to feel lonely. And research shows that people die from loneliness too. It's a huge killer. You may also know that you have a fundamental need to grow, because if you're not growing and learning as a person, you start to feel stuck in your life. But what you may not know is that you do have these core fundamental emotional needs to be seen, to be heard, to be loved for the unique individual that you are. And when these emotional needs are not met, it's not only a form of neglect, but you will feel unloved, invisible, and unfulfilled. And see, I believe that's how we all got so critical of ourselves in the first place. And it's why we're twisting ourselves in knots ever since. That at some point in your childhood, those core fundamental needs stop being fulfilled. You started feeling invisible. You started feeling disconnected. You started feeling like you didn't belong. And as we talked about in yesterday's video, this is all covered in chapter 4 of the High Five Habit, that you then turned that feeling against yourself, and you started to go, well, there must be something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. It was that your 3 fundamental emotional needs were not being fulfilled by the adults around you. That's all that was wrong. So you can change this, by the way, for yourself, because what's missing, if you're not fulfilled in life, is a deeper connection to yourself. Because you've probably been so busy running from one thing to the next that you can't even grasp right now how big of a shift it's going to create when you start each morning by simply seeing, hearing, and honoring yourself. And one of the reasons why I love all the research around adding a simple high five in the mirror to your morning routine is that it fulfills your deepest emotional needs as a human being. This one action of just high-fiving yourself in the mirror, add it to your morning routine. How many of you have added a high five to your morning routine and you're stunned by how much it's changing the way that you see yourself, the way that you treat yourself? Because as you've learned, these 3 emotional needs were probably never met during your childhood, and you haven't been given the tools until right now to be thinking about this and to start fulfilling these emotional needs as an adult. And, the reason why you feel invisible at work, or you feel outside of your friend group, or you feel disconnected in your relationships as an adult, not to mention the relationship you have with yourself, is because there's something missing. And what's missing is a deeper sense that you actually matter. What's missing is the sense that you are being seen and heard and appreciated. This is critical. It's so critical. If you were to wake up and you had a feeling of being connected to yourself, and you felt seen in your life, and you felt appreciated in your life, and you felt heard in your life, that would absolutely change how you go through life. That's why this is such powerful stuff, as simple as it is. And I love seeing so many of you writing in the comments about how you are adding in the high five, and how it's changing your life, and how you're starting to take your emotional needs seriously, and you're starting to make it a priority to fulfill them, and how it's changing everything. Now look, don't bother arguing with me because I did the math. I think sometimes in life you forget just how miraculous you are. You get so beaten down by the day to day, and you're so sort of beaten up by what you've survived in your past, that you've lost sight of how extraordinary you are. And so I'm going to remind you of how extraordinary you are. And I brought some math to prove it. So I just want you to wrap your brain around this really cool fact. The odds of you being born are 1 in a million. We're just going to start there, okay? We're going to do some simple math and we're going to build. The odds of you being born are for sure 1 in a million, because your mom carries over 1 million eggs in her body during her lifetime. Isn't that wild? You're 1 in a million. But guess what? That's not even close to the mathematical phenomenon that you are. 1 in a million doesn't even touch the surface of how extraordinarily unique and amazing you are. Because based on recent research, scientists have also figured out that the egg that formed you was really choosy. And that egg could determine which of your father's 250 million sperm cells it wanted to connect with. That's right. This was not a race with the sperm. The egg was very, very choosy. And if that egg that created you chose any other sperm, guess what? You wouldn't be watching this live stream. Your sibling would, because you never would have been born. So just wrap your mind around those odds. 1 in a million plus 1 in 250 million. What are the odds of that? Well, the experts crunched the numbers on that, and the odds of you being the result and being born and being here with me right now, 1 in 400 trillion. 1 in 400 trillion. Now, guess what? I'm not even done yet. 1 in 400 trillion doesn't even scratch the surface in terms of what a miracle you are. Are you ready? A scientist from Harvard heard me cite that number, 1 in 400 trillion, in my TEDx talk. And he wrote a research paper to say, Mel Robbins, you are wrong. You are such a miracle. The odds of you being born is such a miracle. And the number is so insane. I don't even know how to say the number. Literally, no idea how to say the number. It's like 1 times 10,000 with that little sort of factor at the top with another million. Like, it's bananas. I can't even explain to you what a miracle that you are. And all of this math, it proves something really important. And that is that someone as unique and special as you deserves to be seen and heard. Feeling like you matter, that somebody cares about you, that you are worth celebrating, it is one of your most important and fundamental needs. And I'm here to tell you that because the math proves that you are a walking miracle, there will never be another you. There never has been another you. There will never be another you that will ever walk this earth. You are the one and only, which means you have something extraordinarily unique to give to the world. And feeling celebrated and feeling seen and feeling heard, it is so tied into your existence because of how unique you are. That's why you long to be recognized as an individual. That's why you long to be celebrated as an individual. This need, it's so important and foundational to you and the fact that your birth and existence is a miracle, that it's as important to your well-being to be seen and heard and appreciated as food and water. The difference between a good day and a bad day, you know what it comes down to typically, is just being acknowledged by somebody. And you know who's the best person to acknowledge and validate you? You are. And that brings me back to that moment every single morning when you come face to face with yourself in the mirror. High-fiving yourself is so much more than a physical act. It's foundational. It's a transfer of energy. It symbolizes an alliance and a belief in yourself and your ability. You aren't congratulating yourself. You're celebrating yourself as you are. And you just heard the math. Your existence is what makes you worthy of a high five. Your presence, your hopes, your dreams, your capacity to love, your ability to heal, to change, to grow, your heart, your soul. That's what makes you worthy of being seen and heard and appreciated. Not once in a while, but every single day. That's what you deserve. That's what you need. And the miracle of your existence is why you need it. See, when you are able to see yourself, when you are able to celebrate yourself, when you are able to treat yourself in a way that you have been wishing your parents would have, or wishing your friends or your spouse or your boss would, when you take control, this is what you communicate. It's incredible. You're basically, when you're able to hear yourself and see yourself and support yourself, and I believe that simply adding a high five in the mirror to yourself as part of your morning routine, every single day, you start the day by fulfilling those foundational needs that the miracle of your birth demands of you. Number one, you're communicating confidence. You're saying, I believe in you when you do that. Number two, you're celebrating yourself. You're basically like, you're amazing. You got this. You're validating yourself. You're saying, I see you. I'm not going to ignore you or pick you apart. You communicate optimism. I can do this. I can face this day. And I love adding a high five to your morning routine because it is an action. You're demonstrating belief in self. You're demonstrating acceptance of self. And you are sending yourself into the day to take action. Wouldn't it be incredible to feel all those feelings at once? I know it would. It would be mind-blowing. Literally, it could possibly blow up your subconscious because your brain, based on your life experience, is programmed the opposite. It's not been programmed to absorb all this yummy, gooey, amazing validation. But guess what? Your brain loves it. Absolutely loves it. See, I believe you were wired for love. I believe that you came into this world whole and complete and loving and seeing and accepting yourself and being deeply connected to yourself. And that's why you miss feeling that way. And it's also why this change of adding a high five to your morning routine is almost instantaneous. This is why the programming that we're activating in your mind, body, and spirit, when you start to acknowledge and accept yourself and treat yourself with kindness, and when you start to flip the way that you think, and you start to cheer for yourself and believe in yourself, this is your default. You are going back to who you are when you practice the tools that I'm teaching you. It is your true nature to love yourself. It is your true nature to believe in yourself. It is your true nature to feel deeply connected to yourself and a sense of purpose. That's why you miss it. You can only miss what you know. And so I want you to come back home to who you are. That's what I want you to do. Now, okay, I get it. But Mel, how do I think different thoughts? And this is what I promised to teach you. The trick that all confident people use to stay positive. The trick that you can use to think different thoughts. Well, the first step to thinking different thoughts is you have to catch the old thought that takes you low, okay? And if you don't know what the thought is that takes you low, here's a hint. It's some version of I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not lucky enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. There's something wrong with me. It's some version of that. And if you know what the thought is that always brings you down, could you please write it in the comments? Because you will inspire somebody else. You will make somebody else realize they're not alone. Okay? What is the thought that always takes you down? Mine is some version of, it never works out for me. People are mad at me. I'm not a good person. Nothing I ever do is gonna matter. Like, it's just some horrible version of that. Okay. So first step number one, what is the thought that always takes you down? I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not loved enough. I'll never be this. Like, I see this. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not now, never will be. I'm never going to grow up. I'm never going to get it right. I always screw things up. I'm not thin enough. I'm not smart enough. Other people do it better than me. I'm too big. Anyway, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep writing this down because you're giving other people permission to take a look. I'll never make enough money. I'll never be a good father. I'll never be a good wife. Nobody loves me. Nobody has ever loved me. All of this horse shit that you tell yourself. This has become the default wiring. Step number one is identify what thought takes you down. Okay. It's like dropping a guillotine on your power and on your future and on your possibility. It cuts you off from who you truly are and what you truly want and desire and deserve in your life. And whenever you think this thought, I'll never be loved, I'll never meet somebody's standards, I'll never make the money, you literally also stop yourself from taking the actions that change your life. So great job. You've already done step one. Identify the thought that takes you down. Because here's the cool thing. That's not how you came into this world. You didn't come into this world thinking, I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I never do anything right. I'll never amount to anything. I never should have been born. You didn't come into the world thinking that. Somebody taught you to think that. And so if you can figure out what that negative thought is, right? Pick your poison. I'm not smart enough, good enough, tall enough, skinny enough, rich, whatever it is. I call it poison. You want to know why? I call it poison because thinking this negative thought is like drinking poison. It kills your spirit and your innate desire to be seen, to be heard, and to be celebrated. You are dropping the guillotine right on yourself when you think this poisonous thought. Okay? Now, what is step two? Step two is, yes, you have to identify it, but it's not enough to just identify it. Step two is we need to replace it. Okay? We need to replace it. And so I'm going to teach you what you're going to do next. The next time you think that negative, I'm not enough thought, you're going to break the thought by saying, I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about that. And then number three, we have got to replace the thought. So you're going to catch the thought, you're going to break the thought, and then we're going to replace the thought. That's what you need to do to get this poison out of your mind and start thinking thoughts that align with your fundamental needs. And what are your fundamental needs? It's what we've been talking about today. It's to be seen, it's to be heard, it's to be celebrated. And one of the things that I love about cultivating a high five attitude is the high five attitude is an attitude that aligns with believing in yourself, seeing yourself, and appreciating, celebrating, and encouraging yourself to continue to move forward. That's what you're doing. And so one of the things that you can do, I know this is going to sound crazy, is by adding a high five to your morning routine. It helps you rewire your mind in a very powerful way. And the reason why it will help you rewire your mind in a very powerful way is if your default right now is I'm not enough, when you add this to your morning routine, your brain sees you treating yourself in the exact opposite way of that negative poisonous thought. Because you don't high five somebody that you think isn't enough or that sucks or that you hate. You only high five people that you believe in, that you think are enough, and that you're rooting for. And so add a high five to your morning routine, because that is part of the positive forward programming of plowing new neural pathways in your mind. Again, let me repeat, the trick all confident people use to stay positive. You got to catch that negative poisonous thought. You got to break it. I'm not thinking about that. Talk back to it. And then you must replace it. You have to learn how to replace it and program a positive mind, because your brain circuitry is designed to just repeat the patterns that are there. So simply identifying and trying to break the pattern won't work. We got to replace it and program new neural pathways in. This is why all of you who are high-fiving yourself, whether you're taking the High Five Challenge, go to highfivechallenge.com. It's a free 5-day program that I lead you through. You can do it with 150,000 other people from 90 different countries, or whether you've read the book or watched our videos or listened to these live streams. For those of you that are adding the high five to your morning routine, what are you noticing about the way it's changing your mind? What are you noticing about how those negative poisonous thoughts are starting to be replaced by more positive programming? That's what this book is about, everybody. Write it in the comments. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to some questions. That is the end of chapter 4. Oh, wait, I've got one more paragraph and then I'll do it to questions. The reason why you want to catch the thought, break the thought, replace the thought is because we want to teach you how to let validation, confidence, celebration, optimism, and action, a high five attitude. We want to teach you how to make that the new default. That whenever you feel yourself going mentally low because of poisonous thoughts, that the thought alone, those poisonous thoughts, they paralyze your ability to move forward. So whenever you think that thought, I want you to learn how to catch it. Because whenever you have that poisonous thought, you don't want to high five anybody, right? You don't want to high five yourself. You don't want to do anything. You don't feel like doing anything. It kills your inspiration and motivation. So we want to catch it. We want to break that thought and we want to replace it. We've got a great question about dealing with relationships, friendships, where you have a close friend who's a real downer and they've got all kinds of issues and they are draining the you-know-what out of your energy. It happens all the time. I'm going to say a couple things about this. I have something that I call the 6-month rule. For the people in your life, your friends, your family, people are going to go through ups and downs, and I think it's super, super, super important that you be there for people, that you listen to the things that they're struggling with, that you give advice, that you help them find resources. You must do that. That's just part of being an incredible friend. However, when the issue sticks around so long that your friendship spirals into a situation where that friendship is nothing more than you listening to somebody complain, and now it's zapping your energy, now it's time for you to change how you're behaving in the friendship. So this is why I call it the 6-month rule. For 6 months, absolutely listen to somebody. Give them all the advice, be the shoulder they cry on, let them bitch and kvetch and all that stuff to you all day long. But if after 6 months your friend is still complaining and doing nothing, and is still complaining and acting helpless, is still stuck in that rut and refusing to take your advice, it's really important that you draw some boundaries. And it's important for you, it's also important for your friend. So here's what you're gonna do. You're basically just gonna say, look, I love you. I know you're going through a hard time, but I will no longer listen to you complain about it. And the reason why is because it's not helping you, and it's really starting to make me sad that you're still this stuck and you're not taking action. let's definitely hang out. Let's spend a lot of time together, but we're not allowed to talk about this anymore. The second you start taking action to fix the situation, we can talk about it again. And you know that I'm here for you, but I'm not here for you so that you can stay stuck. I'm here for you so that you can get better, so that you can grow. Now, I had a friend about a decade ago who was in a situation where she had just been broken up with. I think she was struggling with an eating disorder because she was getting scary thin. And for 6 months straight, she would complain about her body, complain about how depressed she was, but she refused to see a therapist. She refused to seek counseling. She refused to read the books that I gave her. And I finally said to her, I'm really, really worried about you because this situation is scaring me and you're not doing anything. And so we're no longer allowed to talk about this unless you're going to go get some professional help or you're going to start taking some small steps to get healthy again. She stopped talking to me, completely stopped talking to me. Do you know, she reached out to me in Facebook, like 2 years ago, and told me that that was one of the most confronting conversations, and it actually was the wake-up call that she needed. And right after the conversation where I said, you're scaring me and we're not going to talk about this anymore unless you start to take steps, her mother had a very similar conversation and she started to get the help that she needed. So you never know what a difference it's going to make in the person's life when you're willing to be that honest. You also need to be doing that for your own sanity and your own well-being. So 6-month rule: when friends are depressed, when friends are stuck, when friends are going through a really tough time, absolutely positively be there. Let them cry, let them complain, let them suck the energy out of everything because they need you. Provide all the help and resources you can, and then after 6 months, if this is starting to drain you and if they're doing absolutely nothing to get better, that's when you draw the line. I want to talk to you about 3 simple steps that you can take to create powerful changes in your life. And I'm talking really big changes. Yes, the steps are simple, but simple over time creates amazing results. And simple is important because if it's simple, you can do it. As I already said, these are the 3 steps that led me to launching this podcast. They're the 3 steps that I used to help me start working on my marriage and making my mental health stronger. They're also the 3 steps that helped me make the move from a very busy and stressful life outside of Boston, Massachusetts, where my husband Chris and I had raised our family for the last 26 years, and make a major move and a major change to a simpler lifestyle by moving to a tiny town in southern Vermont. Now, using these 3 steps, I not only changed my life, I have reinvented every aspect of my life over the past 2 years. And today, I'm going to share those steps with you. I'm going to tell you the whole story. And I want to help you. I want to inspire and empower you to make the changes that you have been thinking about as you go about your day-to-day life. You know, speaking of life, I think about life as one long road trip. Your past right now is behind you. It's in the rear view mirror. And the future, it's right out that windshield. That's why the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror, because we're not going backwards, people. We're not doing that to ourselves. We are going ahead. And you know what's in front of you? An open road. Every single birthday, I believe, is a mile marker on this road trip called life. It's a chance to pull over for a second and think about the open road ahead. Where do you want to go next? How fast do you want to go? How slow? Who do you want to have in the car with you? There's endless metaphors around this, and it helps me think about this major topic of reinvention and change. Now, I love birthdays. I'm sure you do too, and I love them for so many reasons. Because every time you're celebrating a birthday, think about what you're actually celebrating. We're celebrating the fact that you're still here. We're celebrating your existence, that you're breathing, that you're alive. How cool is that? And you want to know what else we're celebrating when we celebrate your birthday? We're celebrating the possibility and magic that your life and the future and that next year holds for you. Now, there's one part of celebrating your birthday that I want you to really think about, okay? You know that moment when the cake comes out? Your mom or your dad or your spouse or your friends or the waiter, they bring out that cake and the candles are burning on top and everyone starts singing happy birthday to you. And then they put the cake down, you look at the candles, you close your eyes, and you make a wish. And for just a moment, time stops. Have you ever noticed that as that cake gets closer to you and you start going inside and thinking about the wish that you're going to make, you don't even hear anybody singing anymore. You hear something inside yourself. You hear something deep from within. You close your eyes, you grab that wish, and you blow out those candles as if it's going to magically make that wish come true. And when you open your eyes, you are present to the wish. You feel excited for the year, and you can almost see all the new possibility that you could tap into in the year ahead. Well, researchers have a name for this exact moment. It's called the fresh start effect. When you make that birthday wish, you break from your past self, and this transformational window of time opens up. You think bigger. You feel hopeful and inspired. And there's some incredibly interesting research that explains why these moments are so powerful. I'm looking right now at a study from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, where they've studied the intrinsic motivational power of this fresh start effect. Researchers studied moments in our life where we feel motivated to make big changes, and birthdays are an example of that. It's as if a birthday hands you a blank slate, a clean page, a fresh start at a whole new year. And this feeling inside you ignites an intrinsic, motivational, aspirational force that's hardwired within you. It's this power to change. Now, you've experienced this fresh start effect at other times in your life, too. Just think about the new year, January 1st. Hello, fresh start effect. Now, January 1st is one of those moments where all of a sudden, last year ends. Boom, slam the door on that year. And something new opens up. A whole new you. A clean slate. An open road. This is why, by the way, so many people start a diet on January 1st. Hello, Mel Robbins. So many people go to the gym for the first time on January 1st. It gives them a natural mental starting line to cross on a new leg of the journey called life. How cool is that? You also experience this fresh start motivation with every new semester in school. The start of a new sports season. You feel like this could be our year, right? That's the fresh start effect. The birth of a child, a breakup, a wedding, a death. These are all moments in time where something ends and something else begins. And it's not only happening in the physical space, it's happening in the psychological and spiritual space. That's why so much stirs inside you, according to the research. I just realized, this fresh start effect, this is probably why I am addicted to buying new journals. Every time I get a new journal, I crack it open and I literally feel like a new Mel is about to pour out on all those open, empty pages. This phenomenon is so powerful that researchers have even created a label to describe anything that triggers that fresh start motivation that stirs inside you, like your birthday, January 1st, that new journal, a new semester at school. These things are called temporal landmarks. Now, let me explain what a temporal landmark is. A temporal landmark is a date or an experience or a physical thing that marks the passing of time. January 1st, for example, is a date. It marks the end of one year and the beginning of a new year. And when the new year begins, you cross that starting line mentally to think about a whole new you. Your birthday is the exact same thing. It's another year, another mile on the road of your life. And this creates all kinds of new possibilities about the stretch of open road ahead. A new semester is an experience that's always brimming with excitement. New friends, new experiences, a chance to think differently about who you are and how you're going to show up and what you want. A breakup or a divorce. Now that's a major temporal landmark because it not only marks time, it also impacts your identity, your life as a couple before, and now your life as you after the breakup. But here's what researchers have found that I think is fascinating about what happens to your psychology and motivation and thinking. Temporal landmarks not only mark the passing of time, they open up a whole new mental accounting period. Just like an accountant closes the books at the end of a fiscal year and opens up a fresh page to begin a whole new fiscal year, The event, whether it's January 1, the first of the month, a Monday, the end of a fiscal year, or making a wish on your birthday, this landmark creates a break from the past you. It separates you from the things that you feel are imperfect, and it silences all that judgment that you have about yourself. And here's the cool thing. When you shut that judge inside you down, you open the door to a whole new vision for yourself. It creates a break from your past self, the things that you feel are imperfect about you or your life, and the things that you judge yourself for. And here's what's really amazing. When you stop judging yourself and you stop focusing on what you think is wrong with your life, you open up the floodgates to what might be. So let's go back to that moment when you make a wish on your birthday. As soon as you see that cake coming with those candles burning, you go in. You stop hearing everyone singing. You close your eyes. Why? Because mentally, a new accounting period is opening up. You stop caring about the song and the people around you and what's happening outside of you. You tune into what you're feeling on the inside, in your heart, in your soul, what you dream about, that thing that's calling from you deep inside that normally you can't hear because you're so focused on all the stupid stuff that we all obsess about. No one even has to tell you to close your eyes. You see that cake coming. You know that you can make a wish. You just do it naturally. And when you go inward, you're disrupting the circuitry of your old thinking, your old judgments, and your past habits. For just a moment, you're escaping the old you. And then you make the wish, a wish for what could be, a wish for what will happen this year, in the next year of your life. And the same thing happens when you sit down at the end of the year and you create resolutions, not the one you share with people at a party. I'm talking about the real ones that you write down in your journal. Here's another moment like that. You know that moment after a really painful breakup? This one takes a little bit of time because you basically need to cry and feel bad about yourself for about a month or two, you know. And then one morning, you wake up and you realize, oh my God, I'm happy that's over. I'm better off single. And you let go of the relationship and the version of you who was holding on to it for so long. And more importantly, in that moment of acceptance, you stop judging yourself and you realize you'll be okay. No, you'll be more than okay. You're going to be great because of this. And then you start to do the work to create a better life. These temporal landmarks are a big psychological deal because something really profound happens inside of you for a second. You snap out of all the stressful bullshit that's going on and the relentless self-criticism, and you have this mental freedom, this temporary break from your normal negative thinking, and you allow yourself to consider the bigger picture. You allow yourself to envision the future you. You tap into your deepest hopes, your wildest dreams, and your most exciting aspirations. You see a vision for a better life. You see that, yes, you deserve to be happy. And that's exactly what I want you and I to experience today on episode 1 of the Mel Robbins podcast. Let's hold each other's hand and sit side by side and imagine what might be possible in the next year of our lives if we let go of the past and we hold on to our dreams. That's the invitation I'm giving to you. Allow yourself to have a fresh start. You don't have to wait for your birthday or January 1st to change your life. You can turn the page on the past and start writing that new chapter today. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to share the 3 simple steps that you can use to create that powerful change that you've been wishing, wanting, or dreaming about. The fact is, change is possible, and you can't convince me otherwise. I know you might try, but I know that it's a fact. Change is possible. It's possible for everyone, and it's possible for you. Now, we're going to talk about this in depth, but the bottom line is, if you can imagine that new chapter, there is a way to make it happen. And I guarantee you, someone else on the planet has done it. I mean, there's about 8 billion people on this planet. Someone else has faced what you're going through right now. Someone else has built the company that you dream about building. Someone else has gone from where you are to where you envision yourself going. Someone else has improved their relationship, healed their mental illness. And if someone else has done it, you can do it too. Start seeing people in the world around you as evidence of your own success being possible. I want you to start saying to yourself, if they can do it, then I can do it. Other people's success just proves that you're worthy of what you want. And more importantly, that you're capable of reverse engineering how they got there and doing the work to get it for yourself. Now, I get it. It might not happen the same way or look the same way. You might not be starting on the same starting line. And it might not take the same amount of time. But if you keep telling yourself, if they can do it, I can do it, you're going to change your mindset. And you're going to see that, yes, it's true. There is limitless success, love, money, and happiness. There's enough for everyone, and there's enough for you. And I want you to use me as an example from time to time. If Mel Robbins can do it, then I can do it. And honestly, I'm going to be looking to you for the same encouragement from time to time, because I'm sure there are things you've accomplished or experienced that I haven't. So let's agree. We're going to encourage one another through this thing, okay? I know how to create massive change because I just did this in my own life. Over the past 2 years, I've completely reinvented myself in every aspect of my life. And look, I'm not being dramatic. It's a fact. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. The Mel Robbins that you're hearing right now is not the Mel Robbins that I was just 2 years ago. 2 years ago to this exact birthday, on the day that I turned 52, I did not wake up and feel like $1 million. I did not see an open road. I saw a dead end. I was not kicking ass and taking names. 2 years ago, when I turned 52, I was sucking wind. I woke up all alone. I felt lost and stuck and scared. Here's what was going on in my life. I had just been fired from my dream job. And look, I'd been fired from other jobs in the past when I was younger, but boy, at 52, that really stings. Then with COVID, the speaking and event business came to a halt. And as a small business owner, I'm responsible for the livelihood and healthcare of 15 families, including my own. So I started to panic. As the income dried up, I had no idea how I was going to continue to make payroll. And to add to that, I had people in my inner circle that betrayed me. They lied to me, they stole from me. So I just felt rocked because people that I trusted, that I had counted on, had violated that trust. That's what made me feel so damn alone. Plus, then college was canceled. Remember that? So we were all under the same roof with our 3 kids, 2 of whom were in college, and they were all anxious and angry and sad and grieving. I mean, it was like living with caged animals. I bet you felt a lot of these same things. And finally, my husband, Chris, he had just been diagnosed with long-term depression. I mean, talk about a shitstorm. I felt like absolutely everything was spiraling out of control. So here I am on my 52nd birthday with all this going on. And I wake up in the bunk room at my mother-in-law's house where we're quarantining. And I just started crying. The sadness that I had been trying to push down, it just poured out of me. And I instinctually picked up my phone and I just started filming how I felt. I figured someone out there on the internet would relate. And maybe, just maybe, they might even be able to give me some encouragement back. Now, when we come back after a short word from our sponsors, I'm going to play that video that I made on my 52nd birthday. And you're going to hear that sad, lost Mel Robbins. And I want you to hear it because I want you to know I've been there, and I've been there recently. And clearly, if I'm where I'm at now, kicking ass, taking names, going after my dreams, doing better than ever, I know how to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to go. And later in the episode, I'm going to share those 3 steps with you that I took to make powerful changes and reinvent my whole life so that you can use those same proven, simple steps to make whatever changes you want in the next year of your life. I had 2 habits that were always a telltale sign for something's wrong in Mel's life. I would rearrange the furniture in the house, and I would spend money that I didn't have. It was almost like a way to pretend my problems weren't real. And we do the exact same thing with booze, by the way. We do the exact same thing with food, by the way. That reaching for something that you know isn't good for you becomes the pattern that you repeat when you feel like shit, when you feel like you have no power, when you feel like things are out of control, when you feel down on yourself. You reward yourself with those things temporarily. And so again, write down your goals. So what are the boundaries with money? What do you need to make? What do you want to put away? Be realistic in the beginning so that you can achieve it. Figure out what you need to do in terms of if you were actually doing that. I've always wanted a six-pack and I don't have it. And I don't know, and I've never had it. And when I finally stopped complaining about it when I got honest about what it was going to require. Oh, I'm dead serious. Dead serious about this. At my, at 49, with my affinity for alcohol and my love of carbs and my distaste for exercise, I have a small problem on my hands if I want a six-pack. So if you were to go forward, right, and think, okay, well, if a year from now I had a six-pack, what would my day-to-day life look like? Ooh. And you can get very clear that you're not committed to that. And then you can stop beating yourself up for the shit you never intend on doing, right? So, what I realized is I can spend 4 minutes a day in a hotel room or in my bedroom doing planks, and my arms look great, and everybody else will think the rest of my body's in shape. And we're good. We're good. Yes. It worked like a charm. So you might want to get honest with yourself. Like, instead of doing this bullshit, really, I want to be a millionaire, I want to do this. Do you really? Because you can make it happen. You actually can. Look at all the idiots that are making money. You can make money. But you're going to have to roll the clock forward just a year and say, okay, if I'm able to put $1,000 a month against my debt, I'm able to make X amount of dollars a month, I'm able to put X amount of dollars in savings. What do I need to be doing a year from now to make that happen? And what are those habits that are there a year from now that I don't have right now? And then roll yourself back to this moment, just like I explained with exercise. Do I actually not want to have a Manhattan tonight? Nope. Did I want to go to the gym today? Nope. Am I willing to not eat what I ate for breakfast? Nope. Am I willing? I did my 4 minutes. My arms are looking really good. But so bring it back, and then you will have the formula for pivoting at any moment. You time travel forward a year. You investigate the patterns that you have that are giving you the result that you want, and then you back your ass up to right here, right now. And you decide, am I willing to do this now? If I'm willing, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 through all the bullshit excuses that are going to be there when you're trying to override your operating system. That's how you do it. Or you have the reality check like I had, which is, oh shit, I just like to bitch. I don't intend on changing, so why don't we get this off the plate? And let's focus on the things that I am actually committed to. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you, so make sure you subscribe. Mwah.